Hi, it's me, Virgo Fatale from the Mr. Sisters, and today I'm going to show you how I go from this to this. One thing I will say about foundation is it's important if your ears are going to be visible, that you put at least a little bit of foundation on there just to try, tie to the color of your ear to the color of your face. You want it all to match. You don't want to have like a fully painted face and then have, ears that don't look like they belong. It's also important to bring your colors down onto your neck. It's all part of the blending process. Okay, so now that my base foundation is in place, it's time to start applying contour. Typically, I use a couple of different colors. I'll use a medium color, kind of a tan, just to add some definition, and then I use a really dark brown to just kind of cut out those areas that I want to really give some depth. So now that I've got this cut out pretty well, I don't typically do these more harsh lines. This is just kind of how I start so I can kind of figure out what shape I want to go with. So at this point, I'll take a brush. So this is what I used to kind of create sort of a defining line. From there, I'll take something that's a little bit more fluffer, like a fluffier brush, and I'll use it to kind of buff out some of these contours just so it's not quite so severe. Now that I've kind of softened that a little bit, I will go back in there with my original color and just kind of tap some of that back on. Again, just to further soften that line. Okay, so as you can see, now that I've gone back in and laid my original foundation color back over the top of this, it's really softened that line, but it still has a little bit of definition. So I'm gonna lay some additional color over the top of that, but for now that's good. I am actually gonna go in with just a tiny bit of this mid color again, and just sort of tap it in right around this area. Now that that mid-tone is pretty well blended, and you can kind of see how the face is sort of starting to begin to take some shape, I'm gonna go in with my darkest color, and just to add further definition to these cheekbones, this jawline. If we were doing a show, I would also probably do my forehead. But since this is what I consider day drag, you know, I'm gonna be pretty light-handed on this. And then of course, bring your contour down onto your neck. The darkest shade has been applied. Again, I did it pretty minimally because this is, again, what I would consider, you know, doing like a day drag gig. So I don't want to be too heavy-handed with it. But I am going to go back in with this fluffier brush, and again with that mid-tone, just kind of marry those two colors, that darker color with that lighter foundation. And I am going to carry it up slightly onto my forehead just to give it a little bit of definition. Just kind of round it out and soften it just slightly. Found over the years of doing drag that the secret to creating a look that works well for my face is just continuing to layer these colors until I come up with a product that I'm happy with. So this is pretty good. I will go in with my original brush and my original color just right around the eyes, just to kind of lighten this area back up. And I might take another brush that's got more of a compact bristle to it, if you can see that. And just use that to just really kind of define that cheekbone. So next step that I would go into is I just take whatever this little brush is here, my little angled fluffy brush, and begin applying my rouge or blush. So I start kind of up here by the temple and just in like sweeping circular motions, work my way down to the apple of my cheek. So typically I just take the fan and just kind of tap it slightly on my forehead between my eyebrows. And just here on the top of my brow. Okay, so now with foundation pretty well done, highlights in place, contours are there, it's time to go in and define the nose. I don't know, only just really recently figured this out, so. What I typically like to do is I find the interior edge of my, or point of my eyebrow, and I just draw it down towards the point of my nose on both sides, and then just kind of blend down. And then from there, I will add a little bit of white on top and a little bit of highlight just on the tip of my nose, just to finish off that contour. that our foundation is done, the base of our face essentially is all complete, at this point is when I start to put on my eyebrows. You can do this a few different ways. I myself have done it several ways. You can use creams, you can use pencils. What I've started doing recently that I find works really well for me is I just take a small angled brush such as this, and I basically just use a dark eyeshadow to create my shape. I find that this allows me to get really close in making the brows as nearly identical as humanly possible. It's important to remember, however, that they are sisters and they are not twins. So at this point, I have both of my eyebrows drawn on. They're close enough for government work. So what I'll probably do at this point is just go ahead and fill these in. So now what I'll do, just to kind of soften these lines, these are pretty harsh brows, and you can go with this look. I mean, it's certainly an option, but what seems to be more popular with the girls these days is to have sort of a soft line to the brow. So I will just take my large foundation brush, tap it in my lighter color, and just kind of tap it on the outside edge of this brow just to kind of soften it up so it's not quite so severe. First thing I do is I start by mapping out how I want my cat eye to look on both sides. I'm just gonna start with this little angled brush and my black eyeshadow, and then from there I'll switch over to a liquid eyeliner and I can trace those lines and I can start filling in the blanks. lines go, I'm fairly happy with this shape. So at this point, I will take my eyeliner, I will make my permanent lines, and I'll start filling it in. Not too bad. That'll do. So at this stage, what I like to do is I will just take kind of a smaller, fluffy brush, and because this is liquid and it does take a little bit of time to dry, and I like to have like a really just super black, stark color for my eyelids, is I will take a black shadow and just kind of pack it on there just a little bit. I find that it just gives me a really nice, even color. So at this point, that part is complete. Then usually what I like to do is I'll go in with just a black eyeliner, and I'll do just a little bit underneath my eye. I don't generally put anything on the waterline of my eye, just personal preference, but I do put a little bit underneath my lower lashes, just to kind of darken it up, and give, the visual impression of, there being a little bit more fullness than there is. My eyelashes are incredibly light, so without things like mascara and eyeliner, you would never know they even existed. So just very carefully, I will apply a little bit of this black underneath my eye. I usually go just to the outside side of my iris on both sides. Just my process. Okay, now that eyeliner is in place, it looks pretty good. Next step in my process is to go in and do my eyeshadows. Usually this is one of the least complicated parts of my process. I'm gonna start by taking a small angled brush, as I did before, and I'm basically going to just draw out where I want my cut crease to be for my new eye. I'm gonna do that both on the left and the right, and again, doing my best to, you know, try and mirror image the two sides. We'll see how it goes. Next, I'm going to take a small brush like this, and I'm just going to do a little bit of white at the interior corner of my eye before I apply the rest of my shadow to my eyes here. Okay, so at this point I've defined my cut crease. I've put a little bit of white at the interior corner of my eye, and then next I'm going to go in with this new palette I actually just got. There's one in particular that I'm absolutely enamored with. It's kind of this rainbowy goldish silver glitter. So I'm going to go in with that and just fill in my newly defined artificial drag lid. Last touch on eyes is lashes. All right, last step to finish out this face is applying lips. So I'm taking a light brown liner and I'm going to overdraw my lips. I will go a little bit above my actual Cupid's bow, and I go a little bit further than the actual corner of my mouth. And I draw almost like a slightly turned up line. Kind of gives like a perpetual smile look. And then from there, I will fill in with my lipstick. right, so there you have it. Drag face complete. Now I'm gonna step away for just 1 second, put on some hair, change my clothes, and we'll have a final reveal on this look. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and also be sure to check out the videos by the other Mr. Sisters for drag tutorials on how it is that they accomplish their looks. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will catch you next time. Bye.